Hello everyone, welcome back. In this session, we will see what is typecasting in Python. Okay, so first of all, let's understand what is typecasting. Typecasting is a method through which we can convert one object type into another. Now, there are a couple of functions available in Python which we can use for typecasting. So these are the 11 functions that we use to convert one object type into another specific object type. Now let's see each one of these one by one. Okay, so the first function is integer function. Now what it does, it converts float, boolean and string value into integer. And when we want to convert a string into a number, then we must make sure that a string must contain only numbers. Okay, now let's see some example here. So let's say if I write var equals to 10.9 and I want to convert this into integer. So I'll apply integer function on the variable var, and when I'll run this code, so you can see here it is giving us the integer value. Similarly, if instead of float it is a boolean value and I want to convert boolean into integer, then this can also be converted with the help of the integer function. And same thing goes for string. So let's say I define var equals to string value of 30. Now I want to convert this string into integer. So when I run it, this value will be converted into integer. Okay. Now let's say that within this string, if I use any alphabet and then I run my code again, so you can see here it is giving us value error. So why it is giving us value error? Because it is this integer function expects only the values should be number inside this string, not any alphabet or any other character. Okay, so this is how we can use our first integer function to convert string, boolean and float value into integer. Now let's go back and see the next function, which is float. What it does, it converts integer, boolean and string into float. Again, we need to make sure that string, if we want to convert a string into float, then that string must contain numbers only. Now let's see some example here. So let's say if I define var equals to 10 and I want to convert this. Now we know that this is an integer number and I want to convert it into float. So what I'll do, I'll just apply float function. Now when I run this code, you can see here this integer value is converted into float. Similarly, if the value is boolean and I want to convert it into float, then again with the help of this float function, this value will be converted into float value. Okay, now let's say there is a string which has 23. I want to convert this string value into float, so I'll use the same function again, and when I run this code, you can see here it is giving us 23.0. Now let's say I write here t, then what will happen when I run this code? So again we will get this value error. Why we are getting a value error? Because this string is expected to contain only numbers, not the alphabet or any other character. Okay, now let's see our third function, which is complex function. What it does, it converts integer, float, boolean and string into complex. Again, we need to make sure that if we want to convert any string into complex number, then we have to that string must have only numbers. Okay, now let's see here again. So let's say if I write here var equals to 10, and here what we will do, instead of float we'll apply function complex. So what will happen when I run this code, it is giving us the result as a complex number. Similarly, instead of this integer value, if I write here float value and again run my code, so we will get the complex number. Okay, and let's say if this value is inside a string and then I run this code, so again we will get the complex number. Okay, so now let's say instead of this value, if I declare this variable as a Boolean type and convert it into the complex, then again we will get the result as complex when we will apply complex function on the variable var. Okay, so this is how we can use the complex function to convert the integer, float, Boolean and string value into complex number. So the next function is string. Now what it does, it converts integer, float, complex, Boolean, list, tuple, dictionary and set into a string. Okay, and we can convert almost any object type into a string in Python. Okay, now let's quickly see some example here. So let's say if I write var equals to 10.9 or 10.9 and I want to convert it into string, so what I'll do, I'll say str equals to, inside the str function I'll pass the variable var. Now when I run it, we are again seeing the result as float value, but this is not a float value. So how we can be sure that this is not a float value? So what we can do, we'll apply this function and save the result of this function in a variable, and then we can apply the type on that variable. So in this way we can be sure that this is a what type it is getting converted. Okay, so we will use two print functions here. First one will be the actual result, and actual result will be res, and second print will be type, what object type it is. Okay, now let's run this code again. So you can see here the result is coming as 10.9, but the type is string. So this float value is converted into string value. Okay, now let's say instead of this string, if we declare our variable as true, then what will happen? Again we will get the result as true, but the type is getting converted into string. Okay, now let's say instead of this true, if I declare any variable as list, so 1, 2, 3, let's say this var is a list of 3 numbers and I want to convert it into string. So I'll apply str function on the variable, and when we run it, we can see that the result is coming as the same. It is looking same, but when I check the data type here in the second print, we are getting the type is string. Okay, similarly, if this is not a list, let's make it tuple. Then what will happen when we will run this program? We will get the result same as this, but the type will be string. So now this particular tuple is converted into string after applying this str function. Okay, now let's say if it is a set, and then again I run it, so result we can see it is same, but the type is converted into string. So after applying this function, this particular variable will no more be treated as a set, it will be treated as a string in Python program. Okay, now let's say I have dictionary. Okay, so now when I run this code again, so what will happen? Result is looking same, but it is no more a dictionary now. It has become string, and when we check the type, it is giving us the type as str. Okay, so this is how we can convert integer, Boolean, list, tuple, dictionary, set into string, or we can convert almost any object type in a string. Okay, now let's see the next function, which is bool function. So what it does, it converts integer, float, complex, boolean, string, list, tuple, dictionary and set into boolean. Okay, and this function returns false if the value is 0, otherwise it will return true. It will always return true if your value is other than 0. Okay, now let's see some example here. So what we will do, let's say if I keep this dictionary as it is and I want to convert this dictionary into boolean. So what will happen, what we will do, will apply bool function over this variable. Now when I run this code, you can see this result is looking as true and the type is converted as bool. So what I said, that any value other than 0 will be treated as a boolean in Python. Oh, sorry, will be treated as a true boolean value in Python. Okay, now let's see some more examples. So let's say instead of dictionary, let's define a string here. So what will happen, again we will get result as true because it is this value is other than 0. Okay, now let's say if I make it 0, what will happen, we will get the result as false. Okay, and let's say I make it -1, then we will get value as true. So this shows that if your variable is set as 0, then bool function will return false, otherwise for any value it will return it as true. Let's say if I use list here, then also we will get the result as true. Instead of this list, if I make it tuple, we will get the same result, true. Okay, now if it is a set, then also we will get the same result as true by applying boolean function on, or bool function on variable. Okay, so this is how the bool function works. Now the next function is the bytes function. What it does, it converts integer, boolean, list, tuple, dictionary and set into bytes. Now let's see how we can use this function. So first of all, let's say I have a variable defined as var equals to 10 and I want to convert it into bytes. Okay, now this can be done with the help of the bytes function. Now when I run this code, you can see here this value is getting converted into bytes and the data, the data type is bytes. Okay, so this is how we, with the help of bytes function, we can convert any integer value into bytes. Now let's say instead of this, if I declare this variable as true, and what will happen, again the value will be converted into bytes with the help of bytes function, and the type you can see here, it is the bytes. Now let's say I declare this variable as a list. Now when I run this code, again we will get the result as bytes and the data type is also bytes. Instead of this list, let's say if I make it tuple, and run this, so you can see here we are getting the same result, bytes. Okay, and let's say if this variable is a set, then also we will get result in the bytes format. Or if it is a dictionary, then we will get the same response when we will apply bytes function on the dictionary. Oh, sorry, my bad. So there is one constraint here that we cannot keep the define the keys of a dictionary as string if we want to convert it into bytes. So for this, what we'll have to do, we'll have to make it to some numbers. Okay. Now, when I run this code again, so you can see here, again this value is converted into bytes. Okay. So this is how we can apply the bytes function. Now, let's go back and see the next function, and next function is the byte array. What it does, it converts integer, boolean, list, tuple, dictionary and set into byte array. Now let's see this in example. So what we will do, we'll declare one variable var with value as 10, and this time instead of bytes I want to convert it into byte array. So for this I'll use byte array function. Now when I run this code, you can see that this result is coming as byte array and the class is byte array. That means this data type, the data type of this data type of the result of applying byte array function on variable var is byte array. Okay. Instead of this, let's say if I write here true, then we will get this same result, byte array of some values here, and the data type is byte array. Let's say instead of this, if I declare any list here, 1, 2, 3. Now when I run this code, so you can see here, again this list is also converted into byte array. Similarly, for tuple, we will get the result as byte array. If the variable is declared as set, then also we will get the result as byte array. And let's say I want to convert a dictionary into byte array, but the constraint is same as our bytes function, that if there is any string, if we declare these keys of a dictionary as a string, then we won't be able to convert it into byte array. So just to avoid error, what we will do, we will use number as the keys in dictionary, and now when I try to convert it into byte array, it gets successfully converted into byte array. So this is how we can use the byte array function to convert integer, list, tuple, dictionary and boolean value into byte array. Okay. Now the next function is list function. What it does, it converts string, tuple, dictionary, set and range objects into list. Now let's see in PyCharm. Okay, so let's say I declare this variable as a string. So this is a type casting session, and instead of byte array, what I'll do, I'll apply here list. So what will happen, this value, this string, each character of this particular string will become the element of a list when we apply list function on the string. Okay, now let's say instead of this string I have one tuple here. So the value of the tuple is 1, 2, 3, and now I'll apply list function on tuple. What will happen? We will get the result as a list of the elements. Okay, so this tuple will be converted into list. Similarly, instead of tuple, if I declare this variable as set, then we will get this same result. So this set will be converted into list with the help of this list function. Now let's say I have a dictionary here. So it is A, B and C here. So this is a dictionary now. Now what I'll do, when I'll apply the list function here, so we will get the result as list, but you need to check this, that only the keys of the dictionary will be printed here in the as the element of the list. Okay, this is what we have to be sure. And if we want to convert the values of the dictionary into list, then what we'll have to do, we'll have to write here var dot values. Now again, when we will run this code, you can see here the values of the dictionary has become the list of the elements. Okay, similarly, let's say I have a range object defined here, range of 5 elements. Then what we will do, we'll apply the list function on the range. So you can see here we are getting the result as list of 5 elements starting from 0 and ending at 4. Okay, so this is how we can convert the elements of the range, tuple, dictionary, set and string into list with the help of the list function. Now the next function is the tuple function. What it does, it converts string, list, dictionary, set and range objects into tuple. Now let's see this in PyCharm. So what we will do, we'll keep the range object as it is, but instead of list function we will apply here tuple function. So what will happen when I'll run this code, you can see here the result has become the tuple of 5 elements starting from 0 and ending at 4. Similarly, if I declare this variable as a string, this is a typecasting session. Now when I again run my code, so each and every character will become the elements of a tuple after applying the tuple function on the string. Okay, now let's say instead of this string, if I declare the variable as list of elements and then apply tuple function on it, so what will happen, it will convert the list value into tuple. Okay, similarly, if I want to convert dictionary into tuple, so what I'll do, I'll declare dictionary with 3 key value pairs. Okay, now I want to convert it into tuple. So what I'll do, I'll just apply tuple function on this dictionary. What will happen, the keys of the dictionary will become the tuple of the elements. Okay, elements of tuple. Okay, and if I want to make the values of the dictionary as the elements of tuple, then I'll have to use values function here. And now when I run this code again, so you can see here the values of the dictionary has become the elements of the tuple. So this is how we can convert string, list, range, dictionary and set into the tuple. Okay, now the next function is the dict function. So what this function does, this function uses zip function to combine 2 strings or any combination of list, tuple, set to convert it into dictionary. Now let's see this in example. So what we will do, let's say so what we will do, let's say I have var equals to dict of, so to convert the combinations of the sequences into dictionary, we use zip function. So I'll pass zip function also as an input, and then inside zip function I'll pass 2 characters a comma b. What will happen when I'll run this code, let me print this value here. So when I'll run this code, what will happen, this particular function will convert the 2 characters a comma b as the elements of a dictionary. So the first character will become the key and the second character will become value here. Okay, now let's see some more examples. So inside this shift function, instead of a string, what I'll do, I'll pass tuple of 2 elements. So let's say a comma b, and then I'll map it with let's say 1 comma 2. Now what will happen when I run this code? So you can see here, this sequence is, these two sequences are merged to become a dictionary. So the first element of the first sequence will be mapped to the first element of the second sequence, and similarly second element of the first sequence will be mapped to the second element of the second sequence. Okay, now let's say instead of this, I make it as, I'll keep it as tuple, but I'll make it as list here. Now when I run this code again, so you can see here we are getting this same result. So tuple and the list elements are merged together to become a dictionary. Okay, so this is how we can use the dictionary function to convert two sequences into dictionary. Now the last function is the set function. What it does, it converts list, tuple, string and dictionary and range objects into set. Now let's see how we can do this. So what we will do, we'll declare this variable as a string and I want to convert it into set. So I'll use set function here and pass variable var as an parameter to the set function. What it will do, it is getting converted, this string is converted into the element of a set. Similarly, let's say if there is a tuple and I want to convert this into set, so I'll apply set function on tuple and it will be converted into set. Similarly, instead of tuple, if I make it as list and convert it into set with the help of set function, again the list will also be converted into the set function. Suppose I have a range object, range of 5 elements, and I want to convert it into set, then what we will do, we'll apply set function on the range object. So you can see here in the result, we are getting the response as elements set with 5 elements. Okay, so these are the functions in Python which we can use to convert it into the specific object type. That's all for this session. Thank you.